Sutta Nikaya, which defines the path factors and uses the distinction. It has a very similar distinction between the mundane version of the path factor and the world transcending version of the path factor. So it seems that those suttas that came into that particular collection, the Sangyukta Agama, are also exhibiting the influence of Abhidharma modes of thought. So the relationships between them are very complicated. Is that Richard? Yeah. Let's try with the microphone again, hoping it.
It's okay. I'm loud enough. We can.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, I wonder. I have a bunch of related questions. The first is, why are there 40 instead of 30? I don't see the difference between the first set of wrong and the second set. That is, what is to say the first set? Those are the wrong intention, wrong livelihood, etc.
Yeah.
Like of the wrong mundane path.
Yeah.
Then what is a wrong super mundane path?
Oh, no, there's no mention made of a wrong supramundane path.
So then why is it 20 wrongs instead of 10?
Oh, let's look at the text again. You'll see. It's speaking about other unwholesome factors that are associated with those 10 wrong factors. Let's see exactly how it expresses it. Okay, in paragraph 35, okay, it says, how does right view come first? In one of right view, wrong view is abolished. Okay, so wrong view we put in one column, and then we have, and the many unwholesome states that originate with wrong view as condition are also abolished. So column 2 should be the unwholesome states that arise with wrong view as condition. Then column 3 will be right view through right liberation. And column 4 will be the many wholesome states that originate with right view through right liberation as condition. Do you see that? Those are good points. I don't know how to answer. It seems almost as if they're posited just to have counterparts to right knowledge and right liberation.
I can't believe that this actually came from the Buddha. This seems to me like a revision to accommodate later stuff. And that the person who revised it just wasn't that logical.
Actually, I think that there's a whole bunch of suttas in the Anguttara Nikaya which also speak about 10 right things, from right view to right liberation, then the 10 wrong things from wrong view to wrong liberation, and then about the unwholesome states associated with the 10 wrong things and the wholesome states associated with the 10 right things. I don't know any definition of wrong knowledge. But I think we all are familiar with cases where somebody is so sure of themselves, they think, I know it, it's a fact, but it's wrong.
But that's not wrong knowledge, that's wrong view.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, I just don't know how to sort that out. And I could think of wrong liberation. I mean, if you went through the 60s as a hippie, I remember the days of lying down on the beach in California with a package of powdered green substance next to one and thinking, this is the life, man. I'm free as a bird. You said you had a bunch of questions?
No, that your response cleared up the other possibility. I'll add one. And that is if this is saying, the wrong view is a policy, many evil, unwholesome states that originate this wrong view is conditioned, etc. How that set of many evil associated states, but they exist with the first set of wrong view things too, don't they? I mean, if you have wrong view, you have to have the associated state.
Yeah. They will be, it's not that they necessarily originate subsequent to the wrong view, but the wrong view can be what's called a simultaneous condition for the unwholesome states that arise together with them.
I understand that. What I don't understand is the counting system. I mean, why do these add up to 40 things? If that's still, that is, if you have, that is all the associated states,
Yeah.
people associated states and so on, why are they supposed to be countable by the same means?
Yeah.
To count the
I know. It's just,
intention, wrong view, etc.
when I was studying Chinese, there was a woman, her name was Sharon. She was teaching me Chinese. And every once in a while I would ask her the question, why is it expressed in this way in Chinese? Then she would pause for a moment and just say, that's the way they say it in Chinese. So all I could say is, that's the way the sutta is structured.
Counting is kind of like saying, okay, let's count the trees. Okay, there's a maple tree, there's an oak tree, there's a pine, and there's a forest.
Yeah, it's true. But maybe, to keep it within the bounds of, they call this a number based on 10, a decadal number. So they're all grouped together.
So it's making pretty.
Yeah.
Okay, good enough. Thank you.
Okay. Bowie.
I have a question about right concentration being defined as the 4 jhanas.
Yeah.
Considering right concentration is the last factor of the Noble Eightfold Path, I would agree the sutra saying that it is accompanied with the other 7 factors. But at the end, it's defined as the 4 jhanas. Are there any place in the sutta collection that define right concentration as the 4 jhanas? Because for meditative absorptions by themselves can be right concentration, right? Because they do not have the other 7 factors in the Noble Eightfold Path.
You mean the regular 4 jhanas?
Right. Otherwise, by practicing meditation itself, I could achieve right concentration.
Now,
By
I think I lost the
definition.
track of your question now.
Okay. In my understanding, 4 jhanas are by no means right concentrations.
Yeah.
The right concentration, because right concentration is supposed to be accompanied with other 7 factors.
Right.
So my question is there any other sutta other than this one in the Sutta Pitaka defines right concentration as 4 jhanas.
Oh, there are many suttas which, oh, I see. Actually, there are several suttas which define right concentration in terms of the 4 jhanas. For example, Majjhima Nikaya Sutta 141, the one that we looked at earlier, which is an analysis of the 4 Noble Truths. Yeah, that would be page 1101. You don't have to look at it now, but it's just, it's there. And then there's a sutta in the Samyutta Nikaya, the Magga Samyutta. This is chapter 45. I think it's sutta number 8, which gives an analysis of the path factors. And then it uses just the standard definitions of the path factors, including the 4 jhanas for right concentration. And then there could be a short sutta in the Anguttara Nikaya that gives that definition. But it seems that the texts are somewhat ambiguous in the treatment of the jhanas, like Sutta number 8. At the beginning of Sutta number 8, and this is on the theme of what's called saleka, effacement, or the erasing. The term saleka means the erasing or elimination of defilements. And then the Buddha here says, it's possible that some monk attains and enters the 1st jhana, and he might think, I am abiding in effacement, but it is not these attainments that are called effacement in the Noble One's discipline. These are called pleasant abidings here and now in the Noble One's discipline. And the same thing is said with regard to the other 3 jhanas. And then a similar thing is said with regard to the 4 immaterial or formless meditations, except they are called peaceful abidings in the Noble One's discipline. So it seems that actually the jhanas operate in different ways. I think here the Buddha is referring to what we would call the mundane jhana, just entering the jhana to experience, the bliss, the joy, the peace of the jhana. Then it's called just dwelling in pleasure here and now. But if the jhana is accompanied by, right view and the other path factors, then it becomes right concentration. And then the way it gets treated in the Abhidharma, maybe reflecting back into the suttas to some extent, that world-transcending path and fruition consciousness, the mind that makes the breakthrough to the realization of Nibbana, that is, even though it just lasts for a few moments, but it's considered a jhanic consciousness, because the mind is focused in a way, to a degree, corresponding to the jhanas. And so those come to be called the supramundane jhanas. And then, according to the Abhidhamma system, those supramundane jhanas are the real noble right concentration. And in this sutta, what's being taken as the noble right concentration is in fact that world-transcending samadhi or concentration of the path and presumably the fruit. Okay?
So the definition of right concentration does not apply to ordinary practitioner. who is practicing the Noble Eightfold Path at all?
No, I would say if an ordinary practitioner is practicing is attaining the jhanas within the context of developing the Noble Eightfold Path, and with the intention to use them as a basis for insight, that would still count as right concentration. Though it wouldn't be technically called the noble world-transcending right concentration. But it would still be called right concentration. Maybe we could say it's the right concentration that's in harmony with the world-transcending path. That's in accordance with the world-transcending path. Okay, maybe we should take some more questions from the internet.
I will read the last one. One day I have heard that in one's returner, ill will is reduced in its frequency and its force. Is this the correct meaning of subtle illness, and does it have sutra basis?
I think that's the way the commentary explains it. The suttas just say that he reduces, one who becomes a once returner reduces greed, hatred, and delusion. Or I think in some places said he just has residual sensual desire and ill will. But it doesn't, I don't recall any elaboration on that in the suttas.
I have a guess myself that for one's returner, there is ill will, but because of right effort, so it's got pressed down, so that's why we couldn't figure out an example of the ill will.
I mean, we could think of examples, but it's just, there would be nothing extraordinary except that the ill will that arises doesn't have much force. And as you said, it doesn't occur very frequently. Okay. Ravi?
Bhante. Bhante, simple question. Now we are very familiar with the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutra, that is the first sermon. Now, how does that and this, because this also talks of the Noble Eightfold Path.
Yeah.
And so does that.
Yeah.
Is there a connection?
Well, the first discourse, the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta, it just enumerates the factors of the Noble. It just enumerates the names of the factors of the Noble Eightfold Path, but it doesn't give any explanation. Excuse me? Well, my guess would be that when the Buddha gave the first discourse, he would have had to explain much more, because otherwise he's just giving, names of items, so he would have to explain. But perhaps because in order to preserve the material, you can't take everything, otherwise, because we have to remember that the texts are not being written down or recorded in any form, but they have to be learned by memory and then passed down through oral transmission. So the texts have to be streamlined. What's more sort of fruitful is to compare the definition of the path factors that we find here with the definition of the path factors that we find in Sutta 141, that's in the Majjhima Nikaya. And one also finds the same definition in that sutta in the Samyutta Nikaya, chapter 45, I think it's number 8. Like those are the standard definitions, whereas this, as I said, it's a treatment which is quite unique to this sutta. Okay, see?
One thing in this sutta, when the noble speech or right speech is described at a practical level. Even if we don't engage someone else in the speech, the fruitless chitter-chatter that happens in our own mind, maybe reading a newspaper, is that considered gossip? That, what do you call it? Idle chatter?
No. It has to be motivated by the volition which comes to expression in our own speech. But writing...
Like the idle chitter-chatter that happens in our mind
No,
itself?
that's just the play of vitakka.
I see. So it's not...
Yeah, that's not considered wrong speech. But communications, apart from speech, would be comprised under speech. Like writing angry email would be harsh speech, or communicating false information, telling lies in an email or in a letter, or if one is writing an article, say a journalist who what are some of these TV programs concerned with the gossip about movie stars and pop singers? Maybe that would be considered, on their part, that would be considered the gossip or idle chatter. Though even those who are viewing it wouldn't count as wrong speech on their part, because they're not speaking or communicating.
I mean, it's just the tongue is not working, but everything else is quite active.
No, it's just that it would just be unwholesome thoughts,
I see.
but not wrong speech. Okay, it's past 1 o'clock, so I think we'll have to stop for the day. Okay, I wanted to mention that next week we don't have a class because here we have the summer camp, they call the Dharma camp. And so the next class will be on July 11th, 12th, I think it's the 12th. And next time we'll do, we come into the Anapanasati, the Anapanasati Sutta, number 118. Okay, so let us end with 3 bows.